So welcome back. This is part 2 of metalwork on our 72 Camaro. We're going to pick right back up where we left off. So if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you go back in and check out that video. We're going to jump right back into it. So here we go. So we pulled the rear body panel off. And before we did, we went ahead and scribed the line where the trunk floor comes up to and meets up with the rear body panel. So we're going to drill through the body panel here for our plug welds. So we've got a line scribed all the way through there. We'll come back in, we'll mark every couple of inches there, and we'll drill a couple of spot welds through that. Another thing that we have to do, every one of these rear body panels, and I don't know why they don't make them with the nuts already there. They have the holes for the tag mount, but they don't have a nut there. So we're going to take and remove, we have this little section here that came with the car. We're going to take and remove the factory little square nuts. We'll take and cut those off, and then we'll transfer them over to our new panel. And then while we're back here working on that, we'll also take and remove the bracket there for the trunk lock. We'll take it off and transfer it over to the new panel as well. So here I'm drilling out the spot welds there for the trunk lock bracket. Once those are drilled out, we're going to knock those loose and then drill out the ones there on the bottom, knock those loose as well. So now I'm simply knocking those square nuts loose there for the tag mount. So now that the square nuts are cut loose, we're going to run a tap through there, just kind of clean those threads up a little bit. Then I'm going to take a 1/4 inch bolt and bolt them down into place to help hold them while we weld. And we'll get the welder and weld them into place once they're lined up. So now I'm just marking out on the rear body panel there where I want to put my plug welds. Once they're all marked out, I'm going to take a 5/16 drill bit, go ahead and drill those, and then we can plug weld that onto the rear cross rail once we set everything into place. So here Troy is melting out the factory leaded seam there from the roof to the quarter panel. So here we're going ahead and starting to cut the quarter panel off. We're just going to remove the bulk of the quarter panel, and then we'll come back in and get all of our edges. Now with the trunk floor removed, we're going back in and drilling for our plug welds there, so when we lay the trunk back down, we can plug weld that to the factory rear sub rails. Or again, we're drilling that with a 5/16 drill bit. And we're going to trim a little bit more excess off of the top of the trunk floor. Once that's done, we'll test fit it back into the car one more time. So once the floor is where I want it, I'm going to take some self-tapping screws to hold it into place. Next, we're going to go ahead and start clamping the rear cross rail into place. I've already got all the holes pre-drilled for the plug welds there so we can mount it up to the floor, weld it up solid. You see there, I'm getting plenty of clamps to hold everything where it needs to be. So now that the trunk and the rear cross rail is firmly clamped into place where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and make my final cut up the trunk floor there to get a really nice joint there to where we can weld that up solid. So you see there, I'm just cutting and pulling the excess that I cut loose there out of the way. So as you can see there, we've been quite busy. I've had Troy started cutting the old quarter panel off, and he's come in here and got a lot of the door jamb and stuff trimmed out. We've still got to go back and get all around the wheel well. And of course, we're going to be changing this trunk extension. It's got a lot of rust and stuff in it. So we got some more of those ordered today. And we've got to come in and clean up our, he started up here, sanding all the spot welds out around the drip rail here for the, or the back glass rather. So on the trunk floor, I've done a little bit more trimming on it. I've also come in and split so I can do a nice butt weld here instead of having this overlapped. We've drilled out our plug welds here, so this lays down on top of the frame rail here on the back. We did that on both sides. And I've also got to come back in, and I'll end up making a repair patch for this this section right here to finish this out. So we're going to go ahead, finish up some trimming and stuff here, getting this all lined up, ready to where we can start getting all of our plug welds on the frame rail here to the floor pan. So as you can see, we've made quite a bit of progress here. We've got the trunk fully welded in at this point. We've also removed both quarters, and we've removed both trunk extensions. And I was going to catch this on video, but I had a meet with a customer real quick and didn't quite have a chance to video this. So we removed the trunk extensions. Basically all we did is we come in and cut towards this side first, just to remove the bulk of that. And then we come in, we've got access there to where we can actually grind down all the spot welds that's holding it on, and then remove that panel there. Very similar to what we've done here on the quarter panel, when we come in and just cut the quarter panel here, and then now at this point we'll come back in and start separating the quarter panel from the actual outer wheel well. Just makes it a little bit easier for us to get in there and get all that stuff loose. You can see there we've already got some of this off here, and of course we've got a little bit of rust here that we'll patch up before we put the new quarters and whatnot on. So again, making some pretty good progress here, and we're still waiting on those trunk extensions. They should be here tomorrow, and we're also waiting on our new quarter panels. But everything's looking really good. This side here is pretty much ready for the new trunk extension. We've got everything prepped over here. all of the old quarter and stuff off. Same on the other side. And then up here at the top, you seen us earlier, we melted out the lid on both sides here at that factory joint. And I think I'm going to end up doing a roof swap on this car too, just for the simple fact of you've got all this rust here all around the back. You've got rust here on both sides here in this area. And for some reason, they cut this area out. I don't really know why they would do that, but I know it had some rust there, but there's no way you're ever going to really repair that at this point. So we've got the roof that we actually cut off of the Trans Am that will fit on. The only thing we'll have to do is change out the seatbelt mounts, and we'll do a video on that and talk about that, but I think that's what we're going to do. So as you can see here, we've got a good bit done here. We do have our trunk extensions in. We've got these just clamped into place right now. We did go ahead and drill our holes on our flanges that are hanging down here, and we've got our prep work and stuff done there, so we can go ahead and be welding those into place. Of course, we're going to wait on these brackets here for the bumper. These will actually weld on to the back here in this orientation. We're going to wait until we get a little bit more of the car together and actually get the rear body panel back on to do that. Also, we made the repair area here, because this trunk floor didn't come all the way over and we had our rust there. This is where our rear body bumper mounts go. So we'll wait again until we get the rear body panel back on, and that way we make sure all of that's lined up where it needs to be. Also, we got our gas tank cross members in. We got those fully welded in. We went ahead and did that because we welded those to this rear cross rail here. And then, of course, the rear cross rail is also welded into the actual rear frame rails here on both sides. So we went ahead and done all of that before our rear body panel goes on. So what our plans are, we're going to go ahead and weld the trunk extensions on. We've got those prepped and ready to go on both sides. We also did some repair work here on our outer wheel well. Both sides as well. Had a little spot on the passenger side. We cut out and put in some new metal here. Those two spots for that to take care of the rust. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean and finish sanding and prep all of this area here in the inner structure, even down in here into the trunk extension. And we're going to put some epoxy primer on that before our new quarter goes on to make sure that's all protected really good while we've got access to it. Pressure on that over there, keep it falling off. All right, so we have both roofs laid over upside down. This is the one we just cut off. This roof is off of the 76 Trans Am. So there's a little bit of differences here because this is a later model roof, the way the seat belt mounts up back here compared to the early 70s where the seat belts are up a little further forward. So what we've done, we've got marked out here. We've got a quick measurement here from the back of the pinch weld up to this bolt hole location here. We've measured that out to make sure that we can do the same thing once we cut that out and transfer it to the other roof. Other than that, the roofs are pretty well all similar. So we're going to make that change there, and then we should be ready to put this roof back on the car. So we went ahead and marked and cut out the original seat belt mounting locations there on the old roof. We did that on both sides. Then we come over here to the new roof that we're going to be installing, and we ended up having to trim out a little bit of the metal here where the original seat belt for this roof come out. We've done that, and then that way we can lay our other panel back over here, and then once we get it in place, we can kind of trim this out and then weld it into place. One other thing that we have to do is we have this brace here. This is to hold the original headliner into the car. Now, it all lines back up perfectly with where it needs to be at on this roof, but once you get it into place, you can see that there's nowhere to drill or no holes there already punched for where it was to mount. So it came with, we saved the little original screws. So we're just going to take some self-tapping sheet metal screws and we'll go back through here, and then we can mount this back into its location. So again, all it does is that your headliner comes in and wraps underneath that to hold the original, bow style headliner back in. So now that I've got my new seatbelt mount there, I want to go ahead and measure to make sure that we've got the same measurement from the original roof over here to this new roof to make sure that our holes line up. And once I have that confirmed where it needs to be, all I'm going to do is just come in. I'm going to simply mark around the exterior of this bracket here so we know where to cut this section of roof out, and then we can recess that down into that and get a nice flush weld. Cut to the inside of that line when you cut. Time trimming all this the original piece up. We did go ahead and spray some primer on the back side of that. I'm going to go ahead and fit this in. I'm going to help hold it. Troy here is going to get a couple of tacks put into place once we get it where we want it. Start down here in this corner. Start there. Yep. going to go ahead and let him get that welded into place there, and then we'll fit up and do the same thing on the other side. So once everything's welded in, we've ground it down, and we just simply repeated the process here on this side and got it welded and ground down as well. So now this roof is ready to test fit onto the car. So we're going to finish that up. We'll pick right back up on the next video. We'll set this roof back on. We'll test fit it, make sure everything lines up. We still need to go in and build some sleeves that'll go down into the rail here to where when we set the roof back on, we've got a little sleeve there that'll help strengthen that area, and then it gives us a little bit more meat to weld to. We'll get that done, pick right back up on the next one, and until then, see ya.